RFK Jr., as I said a while ago, he has lost his way, ladies and gentlemen. He now says that Kamala Harris is not worthy to be president. He also said that she basically can't talk. She doesn't know how to put together a sentence, not articulate. It's kind of what he means. Here it is.
Now they are aligned. 11 days ago, Bobby suspended his independent campaign for president, endorsed former President Donald Trump. So what are the great things he's got in mind for the Trump administration? He joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Bobby, and taking this opportunity. Why wasn't it a better move to stay neutral and command the attention of both sides as long as you could for the duration of this campaign?
Well, it became clear to me, Chris, that I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage, which was really my only path to victory. I was already being boycotted by all of the mainstream media, by the liberal media. When Ross Perot ran, in 10 months that he was running for president, he had 34 appearance interviews on mainstream media. In 17 months, I had only 2 live interviews on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC, so I couldn't reach that audience.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Sir, do you have a social media account? Or are you able to talk to audiences? I didn't know that this was about the media, but I got more video, and here's what I realized. He is starting to sound just like Trump. Now, you got to hear the context and content. It's the media's fault, okay? Kamala Harris isn't worthy, whatever the hell that means. He blames everyone else. He doesn't talk about the policy dynamics that he used to talk about, like the environment. He endorses a guy who doesn't give a damn about the environment. There's more.
I had no way to grow. And our polling was showing that if I stayed in the race, Vice President Harris would win. And I did not want that outcome. I don't think that Vice President Harris is a worthy president of this country. I think we need to have a president who can give an interview, who can articulate a vision, who can put together an English sentence, who can articulate her and defend her policies and her record, and who can engage in a debate and regular debates, unscripted appearances. Vice President Harris's speech at the convention made it very clear that she will continue the warfare state, that she's bragging about how she sees warfare as a tool, as the frontline tool of American foreign policy. This is a catastrophe for our country. We've got to unravel the warfare.
You think Trump would step away from Israel?
I don't think he's going to step away from Israel. Israel is in a defensive war.
Sir, you need to sit your ass down. I have seen you flip-flop on the biggest issues that used to define you, that made you at least popular with those of us who were free-thinking progressives who believed in some of your ideological stance because it was right. And then to see you make a pivot like this, and I said, what in the hell has happened? You have gone from policy only to no policy at all. You're talking about your poll numbers and what media company did not platform you, and how somebody is unworthy. It sounds like you're basically saying DEI in another contextualization. But could it be this?
CBS News has confirmed independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recently reached out to the Harris campaign to talk about a potential cabinet position should the vice president win in November. And even though he's still on the ballot in multiple states, Kennedy had a similar conversation with former President Trump last month as well. So the big question this morning is why? Let's bring in CBS News campaign reporter Allison Novello, who's joining me from Washington. So yeah, a lot of people scratching their heads over this, Allison. On one hand, RFK Jr. is on the campaign trail talking to the American people about why he's the best choice to be president of the United States. And on the other, he's having these backdoor negotiations with both the Trump people and the Harris people about working for them in the cabinet and endorsing them. What's going on?
Hi, Vlad. Yes, multiple sources confirmed the Post reporting that RFK Jr. attempted to meet with Vice President Harris last week to discuss a cabinet position within her administration. But according to our sources, the Harris campaign expressed zero interest in meeting with a, quote, MAGA-funded fringe candidate. It's important to remember that he did try to meet with Donald Trump back in July during the RNC, or he did rather, to discuss a unity ticket. After the meeting, Kennedy took to X to try and dispel any rumors circulating about him potentially dropping out and throwing his weight behind Trump. But just yesterday, the Kennedy campaign told CBS News that the independent candidate would be open to meeting with both Harris and Trump to discuss a unity government. Though it appears Kennedy did not appreciate being rejected by the Harris campaign.
He did not appreciate being rejected by the Harris campaign. RF Kennedy Jr., dear brother, you're a sellout. And I know it's going to make some people upset that I've called you exactly what you are. See, the campaign was aware of your, let's just say, double dipping that you were attempting to do prior to you trying to set up the meeting. They called you out on it. You had to admit, yeah, I'm trying to meet with both of them. Not to land a platform agenda, not for them to adopt a policy dynamic, but for you to have a job. I'm sure Trump promised you a job. I am positive he said exactly what you wanted to hear. But see, the Harris campaign told you what you needed to hear, that they have zero interest in having you with your MAGA-funded campaign infiltrate theirs. Former independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told NewsNation on Tuesday that Vice President Kamala Harris was not worthy of the presidency. Doesn't that sound like a Trump trope? Not worthy. Suggesting she was unable to, quote, put together an English sentence. What? Once again, that sounds like a Trump narrative. Appearing on NewsNation for the first time, cable news interview since dropping out of the race, since endorsing former President Donald Trump, Kennedy claimed that he decided to drop out after seeing polls that suggested Harris would beat Trump if he remained a candidate. I don't know how true that polling data is, but I do know that it's true. Sir, once again, you're a sellout. This individual represents the antithesis of what you stand for in politics. I don't understand the move here. What are you getting out of it? What policy issue is he nodding and saying yes? What can you tell Cuomo or others that you got out of the deal other than a promise for employment and power? My dear brother, thoughts?
As a person who is a fan of disruptors, especially when it comes to the system, I was not a fan of this move. I do understand RFK Jr.'s denouncement of the media and not allowing him on certain stages, but maybe it had to do with certain statements he's made over this year of his campaign, whether it's that worms ate his brain, or he dumped that dead beer in Central Park, or he might have eaten dog, or he doesn't take sides on 9/11, or he watches OnlyFans, which is not a problem. But the fact that he commented on an OnlyFans does bother me. Like, you disliked an OnlyFans girl, then you debated yourself on a show that you put together, but finally comparing yourself to JFK. I understand, RFK Jr., I'm sorry. And I can also see where your side is when it comes to Kamala Harris, because I'm not just going to follow Kamala Harris just because.
Right.
Just because she's a Howard University graduate or UC Hastings law graduate, who cares? The one thing, however, she is not is inarticulate. Can we talk about that? If she's anything but, it's inarticulate. In fact, just a few segments ago, we talked about how she articulated too much. So She's either inarticulate or articulate. You can't have it both ways.
It's almost as if he spoke to Trump's speechwriter right before going on Cuomo's show. It's almost like that happened. All right. So very disappointed in our dear brother. He was a policy champion until he got magatized.